Hello, everybody. Lab 3. Let me take you through it here. Okay, so I'll share my screen. And we will go. All right, Lab 3, inserting data. So in Lab 2, we create all of the tables, _lab tables, our 10 tables that we are going to work with, okay? And now in this lab, we're going to do what the course designer calls the crease, okay? So we're going to learn about inserting data into the system user lab table and the common lookup lab table. All right, so you've got the objectives here, things that you will learn in this lab, and the business scenario here. Go through this. And I'm going to skip down to the instructional material here and open that up. You should go through this, and let's talk about foreign keys again for a minute, okay? A foreign key is a fancy name, but it means pointer, okay? It's a pointer. And a foreign key is always a primary key of a parent table, okay? So in our case with the system user lab and the common lookup lab, those two tables actually point to each other. And so each one contains one or more foreign keys pointing to the table. And that's to be able to insert data into both of these tables, we need to disable key constraints, okay? Because they're each pointing to each other. If we insert into one, we'll get a violation because data does not exist in the other. If we insert in the other, we get a violation because one with as far as foreign keys, right? And so we will remove the constraints so that we can insert into one, insert into the other, then re-enable the constraints, and from then on, whenever we insert a row into one or the other, it will be false because the foreign key will exist in the ops, okay? So what is a foreign key? I've paused here on the foreign keys in the system user lab, and you actually see that in the system user lab, the first two foreign keys self-referencing. They actually point back to the system user table. And I talked about that in the video in Lab 2. But you see the second two foreign keys here point to the common lookup lab table. Let me take just a minute to talk about just foreign keys in general, okay? And I'll use member table and tables as examples just verbally here, okay? So the member is a membership, okay, to our video rental store. A membership can have multiple people that we call contacts who belong to that membership. And so might be a family membership. In our database, we call it a group membership. Okay, so if it's a group membership, 2 people can use the same membership to rent videos. Okay, so the the parent. Okay, a member can have many contacts. So a parent, a member can have many contacts, but a contact in our database, a person to one membership. Okay, so has one parent and have many children. Okay. So in relational terminology, we talk about parent-child relationships. Okay, the member is the parent, the contact is the child. So you might think, as far as having a pointer, that we would go into the parent table, the member table, and we would put pointers out to all the children. But no, in relational databases, we do exactly the opposite. Okay, and it's very slick and very clean. The member table is alone. It may have other relationships, and it does. The member table has other relationships, but for the contact table is the child, and it's in the contact table that we put the foreign key. It's a fancy word for pointer. So when we create a contact, we must link that contact to a membership. And so we put, so in every row that we insert into the contact table, we will put a member ID. Okay, so in our member table, every row has an ID number, 1001, 1002, 1003. And when we do an insert into the contact table, and we create contact 1016 Harry Potter. Harry Potter has a membership, and his membership might be 1003. And so that membership ID 1003 into his row, into a column called member ID, and that then links us to that member table. We can then do joins and queries, and we can enforce that relationship that Harry Potter's contact record is linked to that membership. Okay, so that's what keys are. Foreign keys, that's just a fancy word for a link key, which is the primary key of another table. In the contact example, it's the foreign key in the contact table is the primary key in the member table. Okay, so these 2 tables that we're dealing with here today reference each other. The foreign key here, for example, the third one here in the System User Lab table for the user group ID, it references the common lookup lab table, a common lookup ID and a common lookup lab table. So this field, System User Group ID, this column in the System User Lab table is a foreign key, and it contains The value that will be put in there contains the primary key in the common lookup table. It will contain a common lookup lab ID number. And Oracle will make sure that when we go to put a value into the system user group ID, into this foreign key field, that there exists a primary key in the common lookup table that can be mapped to, okay, that can be linked to. All right, okay, so enough of that. I'll just leave it at that for now. Think about that, but go over that. You need to understand very well what a foreign key is. And it is simple, but as you're going through this lab and all of the labs from here on, foreign keys are very important to what we do because they link tables together. Okay. All right. Let's go to the lab description here. So you will see that the first thing we need to do, this lab requires that you run 4 preparation scripts. The cleanup Oracle store, which removes everything and we start all over, okay? And the create Oracle store 2, which sets up the set of tables that don't have the underscore lab, the mirror tables. We want those also. We're going to bring those along. We're not going to do anything with those right now. They're going to sit there on the side. So we run the create Oracle store 2 that creates that set of tables. And then we run our apply Oracle Lab 2 your name script that creates the underscore lab set of tables, right? Your lab 2 that you worked on. Now, this sentence here says the apply Oracle Lab 2 script inserts preceded data for subsequent labs. That is incorrect, okay? That's not what your lab 2 did. There were no inserts in your lab 2, and that's what we're going to do in our lab 3, okay? So the apply Oracle Lab 2 SQL should create tables, which has your name in it, right? Should create tables like the create Oracle store 2 script with an underscore lab suffix added to the table names. Yes, it does. That's what you did in lab 2. Okay, so in lab 3, your lab 3 is going to call your lab 2, okay? And so this will be your apply Oracle Lab 2 your name.sql file. That will run first. And in that file, inside of there, the create Oracle store 2 is run, right? It's run inside of there. Oh, and the cleanup is run. So the cleanup is run first, and the create Oracle store 2 is run. And those are run inside of your lab 2. So we make this call to your lab 2. Now, there's a second call here now to the precede Oracle store, and that inserts data into the non-lab tables, okay? So create Oracle store 2 created those tables, and this precede Oracle store inserts data into the create Oracle store 2 tables. All right. Now, when you go to your template, your apply Oracle Lab 3 template, these are not in there. Okay, so we need to make sure that you need to make sure that you put those in there. Okay, and then you will have your this is your apply Oracle Lab 3 your name, and you then turn on your log file. And here are your insert statements, and you turn off your log file. Okay. Now this is a very easy lab to do. because we're going to use this Precede Oracle Store file script as our template, just like we did the Create Oracle Store 2 as a template. We will now use the Precede Oracle Store as our template for this lab. Okay, let's get into it, and this should go fairly quickly now, okay? Lab instructions. So you should complete the following 12 steps. Here are the 12 steps, and you need to go through and understand these, but all of this is in the Precede Oracle Store file, okay? So you don't need to write any code, okay? But you need to go through this and understand what the code is doing, okay? Disabling the foreign keys, doing the inserts, re-enabling the foreign keys. The validation code, which you see here, you don't need to understand what this code does, okay? You don't need to understand the validation code. You need to understand the insert statements and the update statements, okay? Now, when you get to, in your script, when you run this validation code, you do need to look at the output. You do need to understand what the output is showing you here, because that validates that your code worked. Okay, your inserts worked. If you do your inserts, or in this case, you do the disable of the foreign keys, then you run the validation query, and then you look at the expected results, and if your results match the expected results, then you did it correctly. You did your disabling of the foreign keys correctly. Okay. Okay. So here are your 12-step lab instructions. But here's how we really do it. Okay. So you go to gedit and do open. And go to Oracle Lab 2, Precede, and there is Precede Oracle Store.sql, and open that up, okay? And I already have it open here, and here it is. So, going to scroll to the top here. Now, two things you need to do in this file. This file does not have a spool and a spool off command. You need to put that in there, okay? So put in spool precede Oracle store.txt so that when this runs, it creates a log file, right? Spool creates your log file. And then you must go to the end of the file and put spool off, okay? Those are the only two things you need to do to this file, precede Oracle store.sql, and then save it, okay? Save. Then what you want to do is do file, save as. We're going to copy this to your Lab 3 directory. So now go to Oracle Lab 3, and now change this name, Precede Oracle Store, to apply Oracle Lab 3. There it is. But you're going to put your name in there, underscore your name, okay, and then click on Save. Okay, now you have a copy of that file in your Lab 3 directory. Okay? Okay, so I've already done that, and here is my file. Now I put a Y on the beginning there, but don't worry about that. So here's my Apply Oracle Lab 3 Mick. .sql file. And you can see the program name is Precede Oracle Store. That's where it came from, right? It's a copy. Now, what do we need to do in here? Okay, run the prior lab script. So you need to have those commands that we talked about out in the lab instructions and run. So the apply Oracle Lab to yourname.sql. Okay, so you want to run that first. That's going to run the cleanup. That's going to run the create Oracle Store 2, and it's going to run your commands that create the underscore lab tables. And every time we do a lab, we run everything fresh, right? We run cleanup Oracle Store. We go back to the beginning. We wipe out everything. We wipe the database clean. We run lab 2 again, and then we run lab 3. And when we get to lab 4, we'll run lab 2, and then lab 3, and then lab 4. Okay, and as you test, every time you test and every time you run it, and you can do it as many times as you want, everything gets wiped clean and gets recreated, and it happens in a matter of seconds or a minute or two, right? And that's the way we'll run every lab. Okay, now the other command that you will run here now is the precede Oracle Store.sql. That's the one that you just put the spool commands in, and that's the one that inserts data into the non-lab tables. Okay, so you'll run that. Now, you will change the log file name to be apply Oracle Lab 3 yourname.txt. Okay, and then you're ready to edit the file so that it operates on the underscore lab tables. So just like in lab 2, you're going to go through and change, and you only have 2 tables to concern yourself with in this lab: the system user lab table and the common lookup lab table. Those are the only 2 tables used in this lab. But your references need to be changed to have the underscore lab. Okay, so you need to change all references to system user. I should say applicable references to system user lab, and be sure that you keep the case the same. So lowercase should be lowercase, and uppercase should be uppercase. And then the same with common lookup. You change those references, those objects, to common lookup lab for table names and primary keys and constraint names and foreign keys, and you make all those name changes. Remember that in the common lookup table, you have the abbreviation that is used, CLOOKUP. Okay, and so be sure that you change references for CLOOKUP to CLOOKUP lab, CLOOKUP underscore lab. Okay. All right. When you've gone through and made those changes, then you are ready to run. All right. So I will exit here. So you can see that I have navigated to the Home Student Data CIT 225 Oracle Lab 3 directory. And from there, you run SQL plus student/student. Okay, and at your SQL command prompt, you now put in your script name, apply Oracle Lab 3 yourname.sql, and you run that. Okay, hit enter and it runs. And I've already run it, so I won't run it again right now. It does take 2 or 3 minutes to run. When you're done, then you open, and you will see that all these files now have been created in your Lab 3 directory, and you open your apply Oracle Lab 3 yourname.txt file, which is your log file, and you open that file. Okay. And then, oops, I do want to reload that. You can see all the errors I have in here. From a previous run. So I will open that. Well, sorry. I actually need to run the lab again. So I'm going to run the lab so that I have a good log file to show you, and be right back when that concludes, okay? All right, I ran out of memory and my VM crashed on me. So suffice it to say that once you run your apply Oracle Lab 3 your name, and you get your log file, go into your log file and look for errors. Make sure everything ran correctly. Compare your actual results to the expected results that are in the lab instructions. And when everything runs clean, then the lab is done and you submit in iLearn your apply Oracle Lab 3 yourname.sql file and your log file, your apply Oracle Lab 3 yourname.txt file. Okay? All right, so we'll call it good for Lab 3, and if I learn any more about this new lab, I'll pass it on. Okay, but really shouldn't be too bad to as far as executing the lab. Again, the important thing is to understand what this lab is doing, understand the insert and update statements especially. Okay? All right, I'll conclude for now.